Yeah, guys, so I'm not going to lie to you. It's not looking good for T-shirt guy. The last two things on his search history were tallest building near me and when does the bright line come through my city. So, we're going to go try to find him tomorrow morning, but it's looking not good. Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Astros, and I'm here to talk about Game 9 of the regular season where the Astros lose. They lost it. They really lost it. It was 3-2 for a while, but they end up losing 7-2 to the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers have it bare minimum ensured a series split. And dude, what do you do? What do you do? I'm not, and here's the thing. I am willing. I understand it was 7-2. I am very, very well aware of that. They had a bad inning. It was terrible. It was a really bad inning. Presley just had a meltdown in the 8th. That's closer to a normal loss. And so I can't... It was 3-2 for a while. The offense wasn't terrible. They had 8 hits tonight. They had, I think, 12 base runners because they drew some walks. They weren't bad. They weren't. And Altuve had a good night. Tucker had a multi-hit night. Altuve, side note, was like 3 for 5. He looked good. Diaz put the ball in play. I think that's how they got the runs. It was a nice ball that forced an error. McCormick had a couple of walks. That's the thing, right? This team isn't terrible offensively. They just don't have the ability to string together those hits in a way that converts it to runs. That's the main thing, because 10 runners left the board tonight. Oh my god, 10 left the board tonight. 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position, if I'm not mistaken. I am willing, because last night I talked about how, if they had a game where they would lose it 8-7 or 3-2, I won't complain about it. I'm going to be true to my word. It sucks. It's one of those losses where they had it. It was really close. Could have done it. They fell apart in the second to last inning. The last time their pitchers were on the field is when they fell apart. That's closer to just one of those, it gets away from you. It's infuriating that it's popped up again, in the first 10 games. They're 2-7. I can't go screamy, ruin my voice mad. But I am going to say, watching this team through 9 games, they can't, and I said this after the 3rd game, they cannot sit on their hands until the freaking deadline to do something. This team, because in the past, they've had some teams out there on the field that they can't quite get it going, but at least they're still kind of keeping up with the race, and then you just got to make it to the deadline. Or you got to make it out of the first month and a half, because they always start slow. This isn't that. This is last year on steroids. They can't string a clutch hit together in their lives. They look very much they're at least doing things, which last year they just kind of weren't. But they look checked out. They look like that entitled baseball that I have consistently complained about for years about this team. Years. Even before the series run, I complained about it last year. I complained about it in the early parts of 22, all of 21. They look disinterested. They look mentally not there. And that's why I'm saying, and I don't say these things lightly, right? The first thing I'll talk about, I haven't, and then I will touch on the whole Bregman thing, because I made a prediction video before the season started, if y'all remember that. It feels like an eternity ago. That was such a different version of myself. Abreu had another bad night. He has, 2 hits on the season, if I'm not mistaken? I'll pull it up to make sure I don't perjure myself. But, dude. Jose Abreu is currently batting .070. 87 with a 220 OPS. That's cool. That's great. Listen, I am always incredibly careful when I talk about players, because I understand that if a player is in Major League Baseball, they are in the top 0.1% of players in the world. Right? There's a number that floats around, and every time, like once or twice a season, the number will kind of trend on Twitter. If you took every player in the history of Major League Baseball, you'd only fill a stadium, like a normal stadium, to like slightly over half capacity, not even to 60%. I understand that if a player has been in Major League Baseball for any length of time, longer than a day, multiple years, better part of a decade, such a slim portion of the population can do that. I understand that. Jose Abreu cannot be put on the field. He's a non-option at this point. And it sucks, because I was big on the Abreu signing. Like, a lot of people clowned me when that first happened, and I was like, no, I think this is fine. This is good. I know he's older, but this is good. And it's just not worked out even a little. And I don't know that I've ever actually said this in a video. I maintain the biggest problem within sports and within general managers and what have you is not making a mistake, because everyone in the world, regardless of what position you have, regardless of what job and field you are in, you're going to make mistakes. That's not an issue. The problem arises when people refuse to admit, to accept that mistake. And, giving it a second shot because he at least looked pretty good in the playoffs is fine. You can't keep putting him out there. You are giving up outs offensively and defensively. Like, this isn't even a late stage Yuli Gurriel thing where at least his defense was still there. You can't keep doubling down on this mistake. You've got to, at the bare minimum, call anyone up from AAA. Call Cooks up at this point from AAA and split time. It's the minimum that you can do. But you can't continue to just every single day put Jose Abreu at first base. And it's to the point, if they were to release him or cut him, I can't say I disagree with it. It's that bad. It's been that bad. And the other thing that I wanted to discuss, which is the whole Bregman thing, because I talked about during my prediction video, I was like, oh man, if they don't think they're going to get a deal done with Bregman, you got to think about trading him at the All-Star or the deadline, that kind of thing. Or if a guy in AAA is raking. And obviously you're only 9 games into the season. So we've not seen enough of AAA to make the assessment of like, yes, their prospect there in AAA for third base is just cooking. Got to bring him up, and you can get rid of Bregman. The biggest issue I've seen with this team this season, and the biggest issue I've seen with it last season, is all mental. And everyone just looks a touch too damn comfortable. The players who aren't comfortable are the ones who are performing. The players who the past couple seasons have either shocked or been the best are the ones who are comfortable. Or uncomfortable, pardon me. Yainer Diaz is hitting like an all-star. Maybe the best catcher in the sport. That's how he's hitting through 9 games. That's how he hit last year when he was actually a catcher. And he was, last year, on a knife's edge. And now, he has one of the best OPSs on the team, 964. And that's after having an 0-for-5 night tonight. Like, he had a really bad night early on. Early on in the season, when a bad night can completely tank your numbers, still that good. Still absolutely raking for Yainer Diaz. 350 average for a catcher, by the way. Chas McCormick last season had easily the best year of his professional career. Was like a 130-something WRC plus, man. Like, all-star caliber. He was great. He was uncomfortable. He performed. Jake Myers this season has been up and down, but he's had some really good moments, because this season it's been made very apparent that, like, hey, it's the last grasp of Jake Myers. and it's performed. Ronel Blanco made the rotation literally as late as he physically could, uncomfortable, and he threw a no-hitter in his first game! At this point, because there have been nothing, not even a sliver of a thing indicating that the Bregman extension's on the horizon, you trade him. And because you can recoup assets, because you can possibly fix one of the bigger issues on the team, which is middle to early relief, or maybe just relief in general at this point. God only knows with that. Because Presley, it's early, and I'm not willing to just throw in the towel yet on Presley, but dude, that was bad. And you can strike the fear of God into this team because one of your vets getting traded. Like, here's the thing. I understand that Bregman is a beloved player among the fan base, and I've never heard reports of issues or players disliking Alex Bregman, but that's not the, like, beloved leader that would be trading someone like an Altuve, or trading someone like in years previous, like a Maldonado that could have resulted in something not great with the locker room, or a Brantley, or something in that regard. I'm sure everyone likes Alex Bregman. I've not heard anything to the contrary of it. But trading someone who is in that situation, but not the untouchable leader status that someone like Altuve is in, it's the move. You've got to do something to make this team kind of, I don't want to sound parental, but give their head a shake. Because they haven't. And you're 9 games in, you're already 5 games under 500. Is my math correct? 5 games under 500. Like, dude, 5 games under 500. The Astros, it took like a month and a half into the season last year of the Astros being terrible to start with before they were that. Like, they have got to show some bit of mental fortitude, and they haven't yet. And you're not going to get it by repeating the same process that they did last year, and it didn't work last year. Like, point blank, it didn't. And it only worked the year previous because those parental figures, who I said they loved, like Maldonado and like Michael Brantley, said, hey, give your head a shake, that they ended up doing anything. And I don't like that I'm just on here basically spinning my tires for another 10 minutes. But dude, what else is there to discuss? It was a 2-run performance where you give up 7. Presley was bad. France did his job that JP France is supposed to do. I've got nothing negative to say about him. But it's getting unbearable. And it's only 9 games in. They play tomorrow again, trying to keep the thought and the hope of a series split alive at 7:10 Eastern, 6:10 Central. The Texas Rangers are sending Dane Dunning to the mound. The Astros are sending Ronel Blanco to the mound. So you might need him to do the thing again in back-to-back starts at this rate to get a win. That's where we're at. I'll be here afterwards to talk about it. But as for right now, that's all I have to say. So if you enjoyed the video, please consider to like and subscribe. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, go Astros.